Thank you for being part of the Fort Talk GiftWise experience. This gift adds light to your family today and will shine brightest when in the shadows found in every life. How does that happen? Here to explain is our author, speaker, and seminar leader.
The hospital and you. Who is in charge here? You know, we're living in an age of medical miracles. Microsurgery, transplants, replacement of hips and knees and other joints, life support machines and devices that fit almost every purpose. Medical advances have saved countless lives and extended the lifestyle of many who would have been crippled and left immobilized just a few decades ago. But all the advances also remind us of the law of unintended consequences. There's a great difference between living a long life and living a life medically extended. And the odds are that there is a hospital in your future. You, a loved one, a friend, a family member, or an acquaintance is going to be hospitalized. There's so much more to learn on this topic that I can cover in these brief presentations, but you can find much more in the Fort Talk Guidebook on pages 48 through 63. We all want to live a life where a hospital is nearby, medical treatment minutes away, and the medical community has responded. Most of us live where there's not only one hospital, but two or more. Medicare, health insurance, and health savings accounts have helped really remove the burden of medical expense. My brother and I and our family were very grateful for the hospital that was nearby that Friday after Thanksgiving. We're grateful for the physician who attended us and who admitted us. I'm grateful for my brother's additional diagnoses and treatment. But few of us want to go to the hospital, and there are a number of reasons why that's true. The first and most important reason is that medical errors may account for as much as 250,000 deaths annually in the United States. Making medical errors is the third leading cause of death. Errors are significantly higher in the U.S. than in other developed countries such as Canada, and Australia, New Zealand, and Germany, and the U.K. It's not unusual to hear someone say, hospitals are where you go to die. Many of us have never been admitted to a hospital, but others are on that conveyor belt of care that goes from home to hospital and back again. Those over 65 are just 13% of our population, but 38% of hospital admissions. Sadly, 69% of Americans die in the hospital. Although through surveys, nearly 80% of us prefer not to die in the hospital, but to die at home. When my brother was admitted to the hospital after he had stage 4 lung cancer, I was asked if he had completed his health care documents. I had no idea what they were. Now I found I'm in good company. A few years ago, a poll was taken regarding health care, found that 85% of us had never heard of a durable power of attorney for health care and did not understand the consequences of not creating one. Let me tell you what can happen and is happening right now in a medical or hospital facility in your community. The U.S. House of Representatives in 1991 enacted the Patient Self-Determination Act. That act stipulates that all hospitals receiving Medicaid or Medicare reimbursement must discover whether patients have or wish to have advance directives. That means that by law, every medical facility must ask if you have a medical directive or a healthcare surrogate. We hear that every day in the hospital, every time we go to the doctor's office. My brother Ron had no documents, not because they were not available, but because we had no knowledge of how important they are. When we asked Ron about a living will, his comment was, "Why do I need a living will if I'm still alive?" "That makes no sense to me," he said. We made a tragic mistake. Pay careful attention here, because when Ron found out that he had stage 4 lung cancer, he knew the seriousness of that illness. But he made a sad and unfortunate mistake when he spoke to the doctor following his diagnosis. Ron asks, "Is there anything you can do?" The answer to that question is always yes. There are treatments and procedures available, and most medical facilities can perform a number of things that can be done even in the case of a fatal illness. Healthcare in America released a startling statistic. As much as 1/3 of hospital treatments and medications are not only unnecessary and drive up expenses, but they actually provide no benefit and may actually cause harm to the patient. So never ask, is there anything you can do? Here's the question Ron should have asked. Is this treatment going to provide a bridge to healing, or is it just going to prolong my death? If we'd asked that question, we would have received the correct answer from our physician. There's nothing you can do to cure stage 4 lung cancer, especially the kind that has made your brother so ill. It is inoperable. What if we'd asked that question and gotten that answer? Listen, I'm confident that we would have gone home. Rod would have received health care from hospice or palliative care from the hospital. He could have eaten what he wanted, slept in his own bed, visited with his family, gone fishing, or worked in the garden. Hospice and palliative care has been proven to extend the life of those who receive that care, and it's easy to understand why. Hospitalization is a difficult way to live, surrounded by people you don't know, keeping you awake through all hours of the night, and giving you treatments and medication that you do not understand shortens life. Your documentation is critically important. Not only does it specify what kind of treatment you want, but what kind of treatment you do not want. Let me ask, if you cannot eat or drink on your own, do you want nutrients through water in a feeding tube or an IV? If you can't breathe on your own, do you want a respirator to prolong your life? If your condition is terminal, do you want to continue to receive treatment such as radiation, chemotherapy, or dialysis? Do you prefer to be kept free from pain and comfortable during your final illness? There's nothing easy about these questions. If you're considering them for the first time or when you're in the hospital, they're not easy. But you will find the GiftWise documents that you're receiving to be simple, easy to understand, and extremely valuable. Be sure that you make 5 copies of all your healthcare documents, 1 to give your family, 1 to give to your family physician, 1 to take to the hospital if you're admitted, and 1 to discuss with your healthcare advocate. You ought to keep 1 near the front door for any EMS or other medical team who may be coming to your house in case of emergency. And then you should keep 1 in your file. We will sometimes hear people talk about a DNR. This do not resuscitate clause is often very fearful, but it need not be. Stephen P. Kiernan writes, "A DNR means do all you can to keep me alive, but when I'm dead, then let me go." Another way to think of a DNR is an AND, a natural death. 95% of physicians do not have a DNR in their file. Gloria and I have an AND in our file. We both prefer a natural death when it occurs. A durable power of attorney for health care means that you intend for this document to be effective if you become disabled or incapacitated. If you are incapacitated and do not have a durable power of attorney for health care, you will need to go through the expense and the embarrassment of having a court-appointed guardian. Your healthcare agent who you appointed in this document expresses how you want to be treated. For example, he or she can decide which hospital treats you, or which doctors are your attending physicians, whether or not you have a particular surgery. The durable power of attorney for health care has the power to make every decision regarding your health care other than the decision to terminate life support. I mentioned palliative care earlier. Palliative care is a medical specialty designed to keep patients comfortable and pain-free while they're being treated. Palliative care relieves the symptoms such as pain or shortness of breath, fatigue, nausea, loss of appetite, difficulty sleeping. Palliative care helps patients gain the strength for daily life and improve their ability to tolerate medical treatment. It helps the patient understand the chances for care and the choices for care. It's curative as well as caring. Hospice care is designed for those who are medically thought to not live longer than 6 months. Hospice care is really designed to enable patients to continue an alert, pain-free life and to manage their symptoms so that their last days can be spent with dignity, with quality, and surrounded by their loved ones. Hospice really affirms life. It does not prevent or postpone death. Hospice can be given in the patient's home or hospital, nursing home, or private hospice facility. Palliative care continues the treatment for the disease of a terminal patient. Hospital care and treats the symptoms of the disease. Hospice care is only symptoms, not treatment. Charlie Variola, the comedian, had this unusual idea when it comes to staying out of the hospital. He said, "I had my appendix removed. There's nothing wrong with it. I did it just as a warning to the other organs in my body to shape up or they're out of here." You know, that's one example. Here's another. The Message paraphrase of Proverbs 127 says, "What if the roof falls in and your whole life goes to pieces? What if catastrophe strikes and there's nothing to show for your life but rubble and ashes?" Unfortunately, that's what happened to my younger brother because we weren't prepared when the roof fell in. As a result of being unprepared and having to prepare documents in the hospital, my brother's will was contested, and we spent 3 years after his death resolving it in the court. His last 41 days in the hospital were filled with discomfort and with sorrow, wasting away, moving from place to place throughout the hospital facility without any comfort of his family being near him. On one of the last days of his life, a physical therapist came to Ron's room. Ron could just barely move. The doctor encouraged him to exercise and to sit on the edge of the bed and to follow him in some basic exercises. When Ron, trying to sit on the edge of the bed, looked at his body, his weight loss, and his wasted leg muscles, he looked at me and said, "My gosh, what happened to me? I have disappeared." So here's my word for you. Do not disappear. Be sure that you have a will that states who you are and what's important to you. Be sure you have your hospital documents in place, because then you will be in control. Who's in charge here? You are. Do your first things first. Write down your testimony. Write your letters of gratitude. Plan your funeral and your obituary. No one should disappear. No one should suffer for a lack of knowledge. Now you know. GiftWise has made it uncomplicated and convenient for you to prepare all of your documents, all of your instructions, and to keep them online where those who follow you will have access to everything that you've written and everything about you planned. David Allen wrote, "Much of the stress that people feel doesn't come from having too much to do. It comes from not finishing what they started." The clock's ticking, and perhaps making the most of our time means spending more time with those we love, doing what we love. We're reminded that through everything there is a season. So just put your priorities in order. Get your season of life enriched with wisdom. Choose to live like you are dying. You're creating lasting impressions every day of your life. Consider them carefully. Your legacy, including memories and impressions, is being created now. Painful memories will fade away if we replace them with the beautiful memories and make them last. J.M. Barrie wrote Peter Pan, and this is what he said: "God gives us memories so that we may have roses in December." Roses in December. What a wonderful, beautiful thought. Lord, teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts to wisdom. Won't you make the prayer of Moses your personal prayer and find that wonderful blessing of the principle of being prepared? Here are 3 takeaways and just one action step from this presentation. First, there's a hospital in your future. Before you are admitted, you need to have all of your hospital documents prepared, discussed with your family, and ready to present to your physicians and your medical team. Second, your durable power of attorney for health care is authorized to speak for you when you can't speak for yourself and ensure that your wishes are carried out. That person has complete control over your health care and has to be selected carefully along with an alternate. Here's the third. The question to ask your medical team when confronted with a life-threatening illness is not, is there anything you can do? The right question is this going to be a bridge to healing, or is it just going to prolong my death? You may need those hospital documents tomorrow, accidents happen. The COVID crisis really reminded us that there are viruses and diseases all around us and they can have serious consequences. So be sure you get your healthcare powers of attorney signed, available, and easily understood. Your GiftWise package makes that easy and easily acceptable.